SMS comprises of three main parts: the originating address, the terminating address, and the message to be carried. The originating address of a message is the sender ID or header. According to the law, according to the operator's rules, the sender ID has to be of 6 characters. This is also customizable, and entities can abbreviate their brand name according to their own need. The terminating address is the mobile number of the customer. The message carried is the template, which is the content of the SMS, which is passed from the sender ID to the mobile number. Now, if I talk about content in SMS, there is basically two types of content. First is transactional, second is promotional. A very basic description of transactional SMS would be that it is of information type, and promotion is of promotional type. Transactional SMS contains SMS like OTPs, order details, account information, etc. Promotional type SMS contain offer related SMS, discounts, selling SMS. Now, how the approval works here is both the transactional and promotional SMS have to be approved at your SSP level. Here, SSP means your SMS service provider. Usually, what happens is in transactional SMS, you get an alphabetic sender ID, which can be sent to both DND and non-DND numbers. It can be sent across full day. Whenever taking approval for the alphabetic sender ID and template, for both of the sender ID and template approval, you have to take the proper document approval at your SSP level. If we talk about promotional SMS, here the SMS is sent via a numeric sender ID. There is no approval required for the numeric sender ID. This is automatically generated at the operator's level. The SMS can only be sent to non-DND numbers. It is applicable from 9 a.m. in the morning to 9 p.m. in the night. Whenever any SMS is sent, the user who's using the messaging platform which is given to him by the SMS service provider will follow a certain path whenever any message is originated and terminated on a mobile number. The SMS will obviously start from the user. They will submit the SMS to the SMS service provider. The SMS service provider in turn will submit the SMS to the operator. Operator will submit the SMS and will finally send it to the end user. where they will receive the particular SMS on their mobile phone. First of all, once the end user receives the SMS, then a delivery report is sent back from the end user's mobile handset back to operator. Operator sends it back to the SMS service provider, which is in turn sent back to the user who's using the SSP's service. Now, as far as monitoring is concerned, content monitoring here happens at two levels. Number one, obviously, there is a primary check on the SSP level or the SMS service providers level where they put filters like keyword filter, spam phishing filter. Obviously, filters based on volume. Filters based on volume are basically if one particular number is receiving more than a certain number of SMS in a certain limit of time, then that can be also flagged as a spam. Now, the same kind of filtering also happens at the operator level where they do manual monitoring, content based monitoring, plus all the monitoring which is already mentioned at the SSP level. Now, because this is a public service, the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India also developed a DND complaint architecture. How that works is, let's say a promotional SMS is getting sent to one of the numbers which is activated under DND. So, a promotional SMS would look something like this from a numeric sender, and a transactional SMS would look something like this from an alphabetic sender. To register a DND complaint, let's say if a particular user receives an SMS on his DND number which he has already opted out on. Let's say there is an offer going on and that particular user who's activated on DND has not subscribed to the service. What the user can do is he can simply reach out to the operator and register a DND complaint for this unsolicited communication. Now, how the DND complaint architecture will work here is the DND complaint is raised by the end user. They will obviously raise it to the operator. Operator will contact the SMS service provider, and the SMS service provider will contact the user who has sent that unsolicited communication to the end user. Now, how this works is end user has to generate an opt-in proof. This is basically a registration proof wherein the user is claiming that the end user on whose mobile number the SMS was sent is already registered in their company's database. If they can provide an information or a record wherein that particular end user is already registered in the database for last 6 months, then that opt-in proof becomes valid. This opt-in proof will go to the SSP, which in turn will be submitted to the operator. This is how the complaint is closed. If in case the particular user is not able to produce the opt-in proof about the end user, then there is a penalty which is levied against the particular SSP from the operator, and the SSP will levy the same amount, the same penalty on that particular user.